Hey everyone, Pao Xiao here. I have a wonderful treat for you today. I'm going to present to you a case study regarding one of the world's most famous baseball athletes and how, with the help of the chiropractor, it allowed him to perform on the world's biggest stage and how he overcame his severe neck spasms to pitch and emerge as a World Series champion. I'm also going to talk about why chiropractors are so essential in the world of sports and why most major league sports teams nowadays have chiropractors on their medical staff. The particular case I will be sharing is about future Hall of Famer, 7-time All-Star, All MLB First Team World Series champion pitcher Max Scherzer. I remember when I watched the World Series in October live last year, I was so happy when I found out about how Max Scherzer was being treated by a chiropractor because I knew that he was in amazing hands. Having spent 5 years living in DC, I've also grown to become a pretty big Washington Nationals fan. I want to share with you this amazing case study because it truly is a fairy tale, unbelievable story with a happy ending. I will be presenting to you Max Scherzer's past medical history and his injury history. I'm going to talk to you about his signs and symptoms that he had leading up to the World Series. And I'm also going to talk about what treatments he had undergone, what treatments failed him, and what worked. And I'm going to attempt to present to you an accurate and comprehensive timeline review of his case. With this particular case, not only did Max Scherzer benefit from being treated by a team chiropractor, but he also makes an effort frequently, mentioning it in numerous times throughout interviews just how grateful he was of the chiropractor and how powerful of an effect it had on helping him overcome his neck spasms and his pain, allowing him to pitch in a series deciding Game 7 of the World Series and ultimately come out victorious. So Scherzer is a 6 foot 3 inch, 215 pound, 35-year-old. Definitely a veteran. He's considered one of the most durable pitchers because he's holds the longest active streak for most amount of starts, and also in the 2010s he has more wins and strikeouts than any other pitcher in the Major League Baseball. And his nickname is Mad Max because of how intense he trains and how much he's able to suffer through his injuries in order to pitch. The first documented case of his neck spasms occurred in 2017, in the summer of 2017, when he was complaining of smaller neck spasms that put him on a injured reserve list for 10 days. So this is the first case of his neck spasms. It's unclear whether or not this injury was resolved completely or if this was the same type of aggravating injury that occurred to him last year during the World Series. But in 2017, this was his first exposure to a chiropractor. He was regularly seeing a chiropractor for his neck spasms, and it was getting on a pretty manageable point where he was able to return to pitching. Fast forward 2 years later to summer of 2019. In July of 2019, Scherzer was placed on an injured reserve list after doctors told him that he had bursitis of his right scapula, specifically the scapulothoracic bursitis, and he had a strain on the right rhomboid muscle in his upper back. This is not an uncommon injury among MLB pitchers. They expose their bodies to such incredible feats that the human body was not designed for. Being a right-handed pitcher, it's also understandable why he was having strains in the right rhomboid muscle and having a scapulothoracic bursitis in his right scapula. The rhomboid muscles are responsible for pulling or retracting the scapula back towards the vertebral column. They help connect the shoulder blade to the rib cage and to the spine. So in July of 2019, he was placed on the injured reserve list. This was only the fourth time in his career that he was on the injured reserve, which means that he had been on the injured reserve list as many times in the last 3 weeks during this July period than he was in his entire previous 11 plus years in MLB combined. So this just goes to show just how severe and debilitating this injury was for him. For his bursitis, he had undergone a couple of cortisone injections for the inflammation, which helped with his pain. The next month, in August of 2019, he started suffering from a strain in his back that put him out of the pitcher rotation for 4 weeks. And he said that he had undergone some stem cell injections to help with his pain. So over here we have a calendar of last October 2019. On the calendar, you can see the days that he pitched in the MLB playoffs. He pitched 4 times in October before going on a 1 week break before the World Series began. He pitched in Game 1 of the World Series. That was a Tuesday, October 22nd. And after the game, he started to experience the severe neck spasms. Although pretty controllable, this is when the neck spasm started to reoccur. It wasn't until Saturday, you could see Saturday, October 26th in red, there's a box, then the box reads symptoms begin to worsen. This is when his pain started to get really bad. On Saturday, Scherzer said that he had spasms in his neck and his trapezius muscle on the right side. He mentioned how he woke up and it was really hurting him. That's what he told his trainer. And his spasms were severe, but they were still manageable. He was able to play catch on Saturday, and it got to the point that he thought he could still make it to Sunday Game 5 start. He didn't have any numbness coming down his arm, just pretty uncontrollable spasms of the neck. We know the trapezius is a large triangular muscle that extends over the back of the neck and shoulders, and is responsible for moving the scapula. So let's pause real quick and talk about what exactly are spasms. Well, spasms are involuntary tightening of the muscles in your body, and this involuntary tightening will oftentimes cause severe pain. A lot of things can cause spasms. Repetitive motion, poor posture, sleeping on it wrong, even being dehydrated can cause muscle cramps and spasms. We know with Scherzer, he had this previous issue with his spasms in his neck in 2017 with his rhomboids. So it's unclear whether or not it's the same issue, if it's the same muscle involved. But we know this is something that he's been treated before by a team chiropractor, and in previous it's helped him. MLB pitchers are frequently exposing their neck and shoulder to such extreme positions. Then we get to Sunday, game day of Game 5, and he woke up on Sunday with extreme pain. His neck spasms have become more severe. He was unable to do some of the most simple tasks like driving or even getting dressed. His neck pain got so bad that he was starting to develop a nerve issue as well with the spasms. The Nationals coaching staff ended up scratching Scherzer about 3.5 hours before Game 5, which caused Scherzer to say that it was the biggest disappointment of his career being scratched from that game because he really wanted to pitch. Game 5 was a really pivotal game of the World Series because the series was tied 2-2 against the Astros, and leading up to that game, the Astros lineup was really bruising the Nationals, hitting 19 runs in games 3, 4, and 5. Scherzer being the best pitcher in the Nationals lineup, it was obviously disappointment for everyone that he wasn't able to pitch. I'm going to play you an interview of Max Scherzer on Sunday, the day that his neck spasms got so severe that he had to get scratched from starting in Game 5.
I woke up this morning completely locked up. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't even dress myself. So I had to have my wife help me. So that's where I was at.
The second row on your left, Tyler. I was going to ask you about the timeline for the cortisone shot, but it sounds like it was this morning or today.
Yes.
And what other treatments have you been doing to try to knock this out?
I mean, just everything. Usually when I get chiropractic adjustments, that usually really helps me out with these neck spasms. I've dealt with them in the past, and different times where I just need little adjustments in here and there, and that's where I thought I was at a couple of days ago. That if I just do my normal treatment and get adjustments, that I could, be able to heat this off and keep it from being blowing up on me, unfortunately.
Scherzer mentions how he received a cortisone steroid injection on Sunday, the day of his most severe pain. He also talks about how in the past he's seen chiropractor for his pain. Remember back in 2017 when he had the lumbar and rhomboid issues, the chiropractor helped him through that pain. You can see in this upcoming clip, a reporter asks him a question, and because of the pain that he's in, he's unable to turn his head towards the question. He has to rotate his entire body. With neck spasms, it feels like a sudden or sharp pain in parts of your neck, which is really deep in the muscle tissue.
Or alleviate the pain from that neck nerve, that's in my neck right now. That's all pinched up, and so for me, I'm just hoping that the doctors are right and that something could be possible for Game 7.
The first row on your left, Max. Marley.
Max, you're obviously in a lot of discomfort right now, and you were just asked whether you'd be available for 6 or 7. If you had to answer.
With neck spasms, you'll feel a sudden and sharp pain in one or more parts of your neck, usually pretty deep in the muscle tissue, and the affected muscle will feel hard and tight and be painful to move your neck around. There'll be constant throbbing neck pain, and this can sometimes cause sharp or burning sensation down the arm if the muscles are really spastic. This can also affect the nerves. there can be twitching, there can be decreased range of motion, stiffness, cramping of the neck, headaches, and if the spasms in the neck become severe enough, this could cause things like vision issues like blurriness. It can also cause dizziness, balance issues, even just moving your head can cause you fatigue. The Houston Astros ended up winning that Game 5 on Sunday, winning 7-1 and taking the lead in the series 3-2. But that resting that Scherzer had and the continuing treatment allowed him to prepare his body the best he could for Game 7, which was on the following Wednesday. Now let's talk about some of the treatments that Scherzer had received leading up to the World Series. In the past, he has had stem cell injections for his back issues. He uses a cervical neck brace whenever he travels on the plane or on a bus. He has a custom orthopedic pillow that he sleeps on to help with his neck spasms. And he's been on medications before, whether that be anti-inflammatory or painkillers or a muscle relaxer. On Sunday, he went to the hospital and received a corticosteroid injection, which usually is composed of an anesthetic, which has very immediate effect for the numbing of the sensation, but it's very temporary. And there's also the cortical steroid aspect of it, but there's a lot of side effects to that. For instance, the steroid can cause cartilage damage, it can cause the weakening of a tendon or even rupturing of the tendon. The soft tissue site around the injection can thin. It can also increase your blood sugar. So the amount of cortisone injections that an athlete can have is very limited in 1 year. And cortisone also takes a couple of days, generally takes about 5 days for it to have its full effect. So he received the injection on Sunday, and by Game 7 on Wednesday, that would not have been 5 days. So the cortisone may not have had its full effect by Wednesday. He was also getting chiropractic adjustments twice a day. And in addition to the adjustments, he was also getting some soft tissue therapy done on his neck spasms. This upcoming clip I'm going to show you is from the actual World Series Game 7 when the reporter Ken Rosenthal reported about Dr. Keith Pine, the team chiropractor, and what exactly he did to treat Max Scherzer.
Been pitching the last month, probably or two, battling the previous injury he had in that upper back area and just fighting through games. It's not the late life four-seam kind of rising fastball.
One ball, one strike. Ken Rosenthal, I know you talked to Max and people with the Nationals about what he's been through rehab-wise over the last 3 days.
Right, Joe. It wasn't just the cortisone shot that got him back on the mound. Last night, talking to reporters, Scherzer mentioned Keith Pine, who is part of the Nationals medical team. He's a chiropractor, an expert on biomechanics, osteopathic techniques. They basically did 2 treatments a day starting Monday, 45 minutes each. Worked on soft tissue, core stabilization, strengthening the neck, opening joint space, freeing the muscles. And these sessions, which continue today, they helped Scherzer get to this point. It was really a combination of things, the shot, the treatment, and here's Max pitching in the 5th inning of Game 7.
And thanks, 1 ball, 2 strikes on Gurriel.
And the reason that's so important to Max, you can see the effort he gives when he throws a baseball and he exerts, and that neck snaps down when he lets go of the ball and actually goes away from home plate, and then of course he looks back as fast as he can to see what happens.
Ken Rosenthal reported that it wasn't just the cortisone injection. Max Scherzer was also seeing the Washington Nationals team chiropractor, Dr. Keith Pine. He was being treated twice a day starting Monday. He received his injection on Sunday. Sunday was when he had the worst neck spasms. The following day on Monday, he was receiving treatment twice a day. Each treatment was about 45 minutes long, and the treatments included stabilizing the core, strengthening the neck, some soft tissue therapy. In our previous videos, we've talked about the importance of soft tissue therapy and what kind of role treating soft tissue has in a chiropractic scope. Rosenthal also reported the treatments included opening up joint space, and that's exactly what the chiropractic adjustment does. It helps introduce a motion into a joint that is not currently there. And with neck spasms, because the muscles attached to the bones it's very common for the motion of the neck to be restricted due to the muscle being spastic, as evident from Scherzer not being able to even put on his shirt or drive his car or even turn his head when a reporter asked him a question. The Nationals ended up winning Game 7, 6-2. This was such an incredible victory because it was the first time the organization, Washington, D.C., had won a championship, a World Series championship. And in the post-game interview, you can see just how ecstatic and exhausted Max Scherzer was.
But, hey, you got to give it whatever you got.
How did you feel physically? Was it a risk to pitch?
No, I was physically good. The cortisone shot worked, the chiropractic adjustments worked, so I felt good.
What is it about this team?
He was the reason why the Washington Nationals won Game 7. The series was tied 3-3 going into it, and throughout the game, Scherzer pitched an incredible game. And from the looks of it, it looks like he was, for the most part, not in pain throughout the game, allowing him to secure the win. During the championship award presentation ceremony, Scherzer again talks about the importance of the chiropractic adjustment and how it helped him when the team flew from DC to Houston for Game 7. The first thing Scherzer did after he got off the plane was get his chiropractic adjustments and treatments.
You know, coming out of bed, I couldn't even raise my elbow above my shoulder. I was in a really bad spot. You know, I had to have my wife take me to the park. Eric had to take me to the park. I couldn't even drive. In every pothole along that GW Parkway, it was level 10 pain in my neck. I couldn't move. I was in a really bad spot. I started seeing the path of what it was that Game 7 was possible. And then when we flew down to Houston, made it through the flight. My neck wasn't in a bad spot. Had more treatment from Keith Pine, the chiropractor. Everything was starting to loosen up. You know, I could start moving around, start moving my neck, start talking trash to these other guys.
What was he like?
Relieve the pressure on the nerve, and then Keith Pine, our chiropractor, you know, he does amazing work. He was able to go in there and make adjustments. We did 2 treatments of it, and really freed up the neck, the C5, C6 area, along with the trap, the spasm. Really felt like it's subsided, and even when I was warming up tonight, I felt really good. So I'm good to go.
Why were you?
Now, I wasn't able to find the specifics in terms of what kind of chiropractic adjustment was delivered on Max Scherzer, but your standard chiropractic adjustment may include mobilization of the spine, perhaps the cervical-thoracic junction where the neck meets the rest of the spine. It's a very common area that is involved in issues with the neck. Adjustments can also include the extremities, such as the shoulder joint, where he's had problems before. The scapula can also be adjusted in addition to the ribs, even working up the kinetic chain, including adjustments of the elbow or even possibly the wrist. For soft tissue treatment, the standard chiropractic soft tissue treatment include things we talked about in our last video, things like instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization or perhaps myofascial release therapy. A lot of team chiropractors also do dry needling, maybe therapeutic ultrasound or a TENS unit to help loosen up and relieve the muscle spasms. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do me a favor and subscribe or comment. I would love any feedback. I spent a lot of countless hours editing this video and researching the case, figuring out the exact timeline of Scherzer's injuries leading up to the World Series. All my information is from journals and news and sports articles. I do not own any of the footage that is played. If you really enjoyed it, please do me a huge favor and share this video with your friends. In the future, I really do wish to do more of these types of sports injury videos. My goal is to educate you about certain conditions and demonstrate how important and relevant a chiropractor can be with your treatment. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment.